Now, running backs, we knew that was going to be one of the craziest points of free agency. Ton of very valuable openings there and a very valuable market to fill some of those spots. Now, there's definitely still some big open ones, and we'll summarize those at the end where there's still a bunch of names and spots we're looking to see. But there's been some big movement. Why don't you let me know, Mo, who are some of the biggest names you've seen on the move at running back?
So this is in terms of all the positional groups, this is the position where there's big turnover among the big names. We've got Saquon Barkley on the move, Tony Pollard on the move, DeAndre Swift on the move, and Josh Jacobs on the move. So I'll start with the bigger names, and I think all of those four are pretty significant people in fantasy football. But Barkley to the Eagles on a 3-year, $38 million deal to complete the juggernaut offense, as I like to call it, in Philadelphia. Then we've got Tony Pollard heading to Tennessee to join with Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins, 3 years for $24 million. DeAndre Swift heading to Chicago with the Bears for another deal of 3 years and $24 million. Josh Jacobs is heading to Green Bay, and then when we started recording, there was no information on the length or amount on this deal. And then some of the smaller ones, we've got Antonio Gibson heading to New England, and then it got announced as we were recording this, Devin Singletary will be leaving Houston and going to the Giants. So we can head back to those larger ones. First off, Saquon Barkley. He goes from one of the worst offensive lines in all of football. The Giants offensive line ranked third worst by PFF last year to one of the best, third best ranked by PFF. And we know they're going to be without Jason Kelce, but I think this is a smash spot for Saquon Barkley. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I think this is as good of a landing spot as you could have asked for, other than maybe the TD equity. You want to say it gets hurt in a way because Jalen Hurts is just so good with those double-digit rushing touchdowns in back-to-back seasons, the tush push and all that. And yet, even still, how could you have lower touchdown equity than what you had with the New York Giants, one of the most abysmal teams, bottom 3 in total points scored per game, now getting an offense that has routinely ranked top 5 since Jalen Hurts has been taken over in there. And as you mentioned, the line, you cannot overstate how big this is. Saquon's never ran behind a good line in his entire career with the Giants. They've always been bottom 5. He's going to see so much more space than he's used to because of the line, because of the surrounding weaponry around him, because this overall offense is just going to be so damn explosive that, yeah, I get there's some metrics about Barkley last year that don't look great. The yards after contact per attempt and explosive run rates. None of that stuff looked great, but I don't know that we can fairly judge this guy given the fantasy environment he's been forced to play in. So moving to a team with such a good line and such a good surrounding cast, I think it's going to do wonders for him. And even if he does cap out at 8 to 10 maximum touchdowns, which I can't really project him for more than that, I think the efficiency is going to spike in such a big way that we could see Saquon push for 1,500 to even maybe 2,000 total yards in this offense. And just overall, it makes the team a beast. He is one of the better receiving backs in the league, no doubt about it. No Christian McCaffrey, but I mean, you look at his rookie season, he was almost 1,000 receiving yards that year. This guy can absolutely get it done. He can run the entire route tree from the running back spot. So I'm very intrigued to see how this all works out. I think it's a great fit and definitely a big plus to his value. In terms of some of the other ones, we did see Tony Pollard going to the Titans. I'm a psycho, and I read all the coaches' transcripts from the combine, and Brian Callahan did emphasize he wanted a committee backfield. It's part of why I've been avoiding Tajay Spears in these early best ball drafts. And now they drafted Tony Pollard, which just seems a little bit redundant in terms of a smaller size back, but good speed, explosive guy. I have no idea how this is going to then rotate out. Like, it's one thing when you have Derrick Henry and you got a beast and you know he's the short yardage early down guy, but Spears will get the receiving work. I don't know what to make of this backfield now. I wasn't really in on Spears, and I'm definitely not going to be on him now that Tony Pollard is there as well. I do think Spears probably brings a little bit more explosivity, unless it was that tightrope surgery in Pollard. We did see, the best graded rusher over the last 5 weeks by PFF, even though his yards per carry didn't go up all that much. There's things that pointed to him not being healthy till week 10 and then finally getting it together. But I still, just eyeball-wise, he never looked like the Tony Pollard the year before where I loved him. I couldn't get enough of Tony Pollard that season. So fun to watch. We just never saw that breakaway speed. So this is a backfield that just, to me, feels like an avoid. Brian Callahan's dad coming over there to make the offensive line gel and zone blocking scheme, and all that's going to be great. It is going to work well. I just think the volume's going to be too inconsistent there. So downgrade for Pollard, for Tajay Spears. I think that's going to be a bit of a mess, and it's just going to be so undefined as to what their roles are. Josh Jacobs, though, I really do love this one. You wrote the note, becomes part of a blossoming offense there, and I couldn't agree more. Obviously Aaron Jones didn't have the season that many people were hoping for last year, but by the end of the season, when he finally kind of got his health under him, he became one of the best backs in fantasy. And over that playoff stretch run, he was an absolute animal. So I looked at his game logs really quick before we got started here, and he closed out the season 14.9, 14, 19.1, 32, and 16 fantasy points over those last 6 weeks when he finally got acclimated. Jordan Love was the number 2 quarterback in fantasy over those final 7 weeks as well. And it seemed like he's just kind of taken that next step in this overall offense. I had been drafting a decent amount of Aaron Jones, assuming he was going to be the lead back in this ascending offense. He's now been informed that he's going to be released and likely to be picked up quickly is the early report there. I love this Josh Jacobs move, though. He can get it done as a receiver, but certainly a beastly running back and younger at this stage of his career than Aaron Jones. So to be a centerpiece in an ascending offense with PFF's top-graded offensive line in many categories last year, I think this is a slam dunk for Josh Jacobs. He's going to again go down as one of the biggest winners alongside Saquon Barkley. I think both of those two are enormous winners here. Aaron Jones definitely gets a downgrade till we know where he lands, but I can't imagine him landing in a situation that would have been better than the Green Bay lead back. I think this is a smash for Jacobs. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, so I actually spent about an hour yesterday looking into Aaron Jones and getting myself excited about him just being a part of this Packers offense. Down the stretch last year, we saw the Packers lean on Aaron Jones throughout the playoffs, and I believe it was 6 straight games that he finished to close out the season with at least 100 all-purpose yards, and it might have been even more. So I think without Jones in the picture and Dillon's on the free agency market, I haven't really heard anything about him. I don't know if you have, but if this is Jacobs' backfield, this is going to be great. They've got a young quarterback. They've got a wide receiver room full of young guys on rookie contracts. This is an offense I want to invest in, and if Josh Jacobs is going to be the only guy there, this is a premium landing spot for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, couldn't be better for him. Couldn't be much better for Saquon Barkley as well. Pollard, mixed bag. And as you mentioned, DeAndre Swift going to Chicago, kind of an ugly backfield, but there's no reason he can't carve himself out a clear lead role there. He's been an elite receiver when leaned upon in that type of role. Not a situation that I love, though, leaving it. If he wasn't all that great in Philadelphia, I don't expect him to suddenly get a big upgrade here with the Bears. It is a downgrade for a Roschon, for a Khalil Herbert. I do expect Swift to take over there. The fact that, I always do like when a division rival goes and signs a back that they faced multiple times a year. So clearly the Bears saw something they like, but I'm not going to be going over the moon. DeAndre Swift's been going around pick 100 right now in best ball drafts, and I think that's where he slides in. It's probably still with this news, maybe even a slight downgrade, given that he could have returned to Philadelphia or landed in a situation like the Chiefs or a more appealing situation. So, yeah, I don't love that one. Gibson going to the Pats. I like the player. I've been actually drafting him a lot in hopes of him landing with the Chiefs or landing with Buffalo or one of these explosive offense situations. To land with the New England is just gross. It's brutal. They have used running backs well in the passing game, but it definitely dings Ramondre's receiving upside a bit. I'm not that intrigued by Gibson. And CJ did comment in here. Apparently, Gus Edwards has landed. The Gus bus is headed to Harbaugh, to LA, to the Chargers. He reunites with Greg Roman, a guy who drafted him. It's one of those situations where Gus Edwards is going pick 180, 190 right now. Unsexy, right where he was going last year. He finished with top 3 in total touchdowns among running backs. Ended up being one of the best picks you could have made. I doubt that this is the last move LA is going to make. I imagine I keep drafting Blake Corum and the idea that Harbaugh is going to want to reunite with his boy. But there's going to be touchdown upside in a Greg Roman beautiful run scheme in LA. I hate Greg Roman for most parts of the offense, but for running backs, it's a gold mine. And so Gus Bus has to get some heavier steam here when he's going in the last 3 rounds of drafts. If that's going to stay, I'm going to be hammering him in those last rounds nearly every single time. Do you have any rapid reactions to any of the other guys I brought up before we move to receiver?
Yeah, Gus Bus. I mean, it is what it is. You can grab him here and there in the last couple of rounds of your drafts, but like you said, I think there's maybe there's zero chance that they don't add someone else. Someone else will be in that LA backfield, and from what it's looking by them signing Gus Bus, it's just seeming like it's going to be one of those backfields that is just a nightmare to pick through every single week. and you're never going to really know unless someone goes down with an injury. So he could be valuable if this offense works out under Harbaugh and someone else goes down. But with the Edwards signing, this is shaping up to be one of the nastier backfields in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, you never really know. I haven't seen anything about the numbers. They could have brought him in to purely just be a backup, but he showed that he's competent and can make plays. He's not going to elevate the offense by any means, but he can contribute on an NFL offense, and I think that the Chargers are going to use him in that way.
Yeah, and this one also just coming in from our guy CJ, who's nailing the Twitter right now. Texans could be a team to watch out for when it comes to Aaron Jones per NFL Network. Whew, talk about landed on your feet. I just said there's not too many spots I could imagine being better for Aaron Jones than the ascending Packers offense, where he was already doing some damage to close out the year. Well, Texans might be one of those few spots that are better. And that does kind of wrap up some of the spots. I wanted to just mention that we in terms of big question marks remaining, Dallas, Baltimore, Houston, and the Chargers. Yeah, Edwards going there, but that does not preclude another stud potentially going there and becoming the monster, and Edwards just be more of a depth piece. So those four backfields, again, the Cowboys, the Ravens, the Texans, and then possibly the Chargers as well, are all wide open right now. There's still guys like Derrick Henry out there that haven't been signed, older, but still could get it done now. Aaron Jones is one of those free agent backs. So there's a lot to still sift through at the running back position as free agency continues to go. Definitely going to be keeping our eyes peeled there, but some huge dominoes did fall today. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.